Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I am Hina Gambhir. You know, it's good to do things you enjoy, but how far can you go with a hobby? And at what point does it become an addiction? I'm asking this because of an incident that took place in Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh. A 16-year-old boy from Lucknow killed his mother. Yes, you heard me right. A teenager killed his own mother after she scolded him, after she tried to stop him from playing online video game PUBG. The boy was addicted to this online video game, and the addiction became so bad that he used his father's pistol to shoot his own mother. Not just this, he even tried to mislead the police during the investigation by narrating a fake story. He hid the body for 2 days in a room, threatened his younger sister to not tell anyone. Now, it's not the first time something like this has happened. There are hundreds of examples of children committing crimes due to online game addiction. What is the reason behind this? Experts say there are many factors. Pandemic stress, peer pressure, critical parents, loneliness among children, poor academic performance, lack of physical activity, less or no friends at all. As per a survey, addicted children spend over 9 hours a day only gaming. Indian online gaming market size currently is $433 million, and it is poised to touch $200 billion by 2025. Over 50% internet users indulge in online gaming. Around 23.8% of children use smartphones when they are in bed before going to sleep. And 37.15% of these children have experienced reduced level of concentration due to smartphone use, as per the latest government data. So tonight, let's try and find out ways to fight this invisible enemy that is ruining young minds across India. You can also call us and share with us your views, or if there are any questions or concerns that you have on this online gaming addiction. The numbers are flashing at the bottom of your screens. Let me now welcome my guest joining us on the broadcast. We have Indrajit Lankesh, Indian filmmaker, producer and director, who's a parent of 2 teenage kids. We will be joined by Gitika Ganjudhar, anchor, actor and an author who's a parent as well. Dr Chinu Agrawal, psychologist and psychotherapist, director, Feeling Minds, is live with us on the broadcast. Nupur Dhakifalkar, who is founder and director, Center for Mental Health, clinical psychologist, also on the broadcast this evening. And N.S. Napinai, advocate, Supreme Court of India and founder, Cyber Sathi. Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. Indrajit Lankesh, let me begin the discussion with you. What has happened in Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh is scary. In your opinion, what would have really driven this teenager to kill his own mother? Can the online addiction be so bad?
Of course, I completely agree with you. It's not just online gaming, online addiction and exposure to the media, exposure to social media, and exposure to the movies on the net. And, as you know earlier, there used to be always a kind of a scroller saying that, you shouldn't try this at home, whether it's a Bruce Lee film or it's Karate Kid or any of those action flicks. But now this PUBG is so violent. In fact, they give a kind of an alert saying that, it is going to affect you psychologically, mentally, and it is not right for the kids, but still the kids are addicted to it, addicted to these computer games. And what happened in the US, a middle-aged man taking his gun and killing a serial of kids, and the same is going to happen here. There's always an influence of the West, the influence of the media, the influence of the social media, and today there's no censorship for whether it's gaming or whether it's for the what do you call OTT. So it's kind of where we're leading to, and especially it's shocking. It's not just shocking; it's kind of tragic that a kid has killed his own mother with a gun. And where are we leading as a society? In fact, the parenting also has to be blamed, because the parents have to take care whenever they're watching this kind of a game or playing this kind of a game or a movie on OTT, or whether it's they're watching any content on social media. It has to be good parenting also. Parents also are very, very responsible in guiding the kids what they should watch, what they should not watch. There should be a censorship. Of course, as a filmmaker, I completely don't agree for the social for censorship in movies in OTT, because it has to be democratic. But at the same time, the parents have to take care of the kids who are teenagers or who are not adults, of what they're watching, what they're playing, and what can they watch and what they cannot watch. It's very difficult, of course, when you have working parents like me and my wife both work. But at the same time, we are very careful about what they watch and what they shouldn't watch, and what games should we give them. In fact, I know a cameraman, in fact, I work with. He hasn't had TV just because it's going to affect the kids. He hasn't brought any games for the kids, but because it's going to affect the kids. But whether it's drastic or not, I can't completely agree with him. But what content they have to watch, that has to be kind of taken care of the parents. Parents are directly or indirectly or relatively or completely, I don't know how much of percentage, but they are involved in bringing up the kids and influencing them on what to watch, what not to watch. And today, if the son has killed his own mother, the responsibility lies with the parents as well, because they have allowed him to play these games and they have allowed him to watch this content.
Role of parents, of course, is very, very important, and that's why on this panel today we have parents as well, parents like you, who can tell us about the what is being done right now to stop children from getting addicted to online gaming. Because Gitika Ganjudhar, now the kind of incidents that are being reported from different parts of the country, what has happened in Lucknow, a 16-year-old boy killing his own mother, only goes to show that this addiction has started fueling criminality. It is becoming another substance addiction that we have in the country, another menace.
First of all, my deepest condolences to the father, the sibling, the extended family, and also my deepest condolences to the child who has shot his own mother, because his life ahead is anything, if anything, is going to be challenge after challenge. See, we are living in a world, in a country, in a society which is in flux. This is probably one of the worst phases of human civilization. To say that every parent out there is not doing their best is very unfair. But parents of this generation are also tackling a host of new situations, a host of new challenges, a host of new problems. This explosion, this digital explosion, it's unprecedented. Every parent does their best, whatever their circumstances are. So I'm not going to really blame the father or the mother for this incident. But these are the times we live in, and all parents just have to be very, very conscious that we have some immense challenges coming in from the digital world. The government did its job, it banned the game. The child was still able to access it. I feel that this one case should also be looked at in isolation, because here, obviously, the child seems to have some psychiatric issues, because he also hid his mother's body for 2 days and put some kind of freshener to, I think, not let the stench come out. So instead of really going at this case, hammer and tongs, we will have to look at it with a lot of compassion, empathy, and an in-depth analysis really as to where we as a society are going wrong, we as an ecosystem are going wrong, and how parents today really are battling so many challenges when they're trying to bring up their children. It is not an easy time to bring up children. All of us are professionals. We have to earn our livelihoods. We have careers. At the same time, we have 2 children. It's not easy. It's not easy. But yes, this incident for India, at least, it's so unfortunate, really, but it will serve as a wake-up call for parents across the country. And I request the media, instead of making one big hangama out of this, let's look at it with compassion. Let's take this opportunity to actually put the spotlight on this issue of gaming addiction. Addiction is a mental disorder. Any addiction is a problem. This is a mental disorder. We all need to get together and address it in that fashion and not sensationalize this issue, because this child is still alive. The boy who shot his mother, he still has a life ahead of him. That poor father, the children are his. So I request not to sensationalize this and have some very intelligent debates on this. The government needs to pass some more laws, to put in some more stringent guidelines. And all parents across the country, unfortunately, this is a wake-up call, but pick up your child's gadgets and take a look at them, take a look at what is on them, take a look at how you're dividing your time between your professions, your personal needs, and your child. Relook at the entire system. This may die down in the next 2 months, but I think parents, instead of being blamed, you have to, there is a lot happening and a lot of factors will come together to address this new monster that we as parents are tackling on a daily basis. I don't know of a single mother. My daughter goes to a girls' school in the city of Mumbai. I don't know of a single mother and a single father who not discussed this problem of gaming addiction. Mind you, why has it come now? Why is it such a big explosion now? These children have come out of 2 years of sitting at home. End of the day, how much can the parents also...
And during those 2 years, parents had no option but to give a smartphone to the child so that the child could actually continue his or her education.
Correct. Education.
No, I'm not blaming the parents here.
Right.
Gitika, I'm not blaming the parents here. I'm just saying we were, as parents during the pandemic were forced to give smartphones to children because that was the only way of continuing their education, either a laptop or a smartphone. That was the only way. So the times are very, very difficult. And trust me, the idea behind... Yes.
Also, what happened during COVID was that...
the idea behind having this show... Yes.
No, Hina, I have complete respect for you and your credibility and everything. And I know I watch you a lot. So, but what also happened during COVID was that the staff at home was reduced. Parents were working from home. Somewhere, yes, of course, parents relaxed because end of the day, you're coping with 24/7 being locked up. You're doing household errands, chores. You're delivering on your work also. You're handling your own mental health issues. So, भूल तो हम सबसे हुई है, पर ये कोविड के बाद immediately we have all come back into the real world. हम लोग भी we are also trying to get firm footing in our professions with our parenting, everything. तो ये incident जो है ये एक बहुत unfortunate wake up call है. It's a very unfortunate wake up call, but I'm saying let's just all now just take a look at what is really happening with our children.
We need to see this incident as a wake-up call, and that's the reason why tonight on the show, I want to focus on solutions. What should be done to deal with this problem that most of us are facing every single day? Dr. Chinu Agrawal, before we begin talking about solutions, what can parents do, what can children do, what can adults do who are also equally addicted to many online games today? There are several examples, not just in India, but around the world as well. I want to first ask you, in your opinion, how is online gaming addiction impacting people today?
Very good question, Hina. And you'd be surprised to know that gaming addiction started getting attention of mental health fraternity since more than 10 years now. And in 2013 itself, it was included in the DSM-5, which was a diagnostic and statistical manual of psychiatric disorders, as a disorder with the corollary that we need more research on it. And then WHO also included in ICD-11, that is the International Classification of Diseases. And we have a robust body of research which is saying that gaming addiction is impacting not only children and adolescents, but also adults. And we can actually see the changes, anatomical changes in the brain of people who are addicted to gaming. We can see the physiological changes. We can see their mood disorders. We can see that their sleeping patterns are disrupted. We are seeing that they are facing a lot of stress, anxiety, depression. We are seeing that the academic performance is going down. We are seeing that they are getting more and more isolated. They are not able to cope up with their life. There is a functional impairment where they just don't want anything else. They just want to, lock themselves up or being left to play their game. They are living in a world of trance where that is the only reality that is there for them. And they really don't know what else is there in the real world. So it is a total hijack of their prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking brain, the executive brain. And most of them do not even know what they are into. They're not even having any insight into it. And so one research said that, most of the children who are into gaming addiction will be in denial, where they will say कि नहीं मैंने तो एक ही घंटा खेला था, आधे घंटा खेला था. They will not even own up to the time that they are spending on their gaming. And so it is, the answer to your question, it is impacting not only mental, emotional, but also physical health, where we are seeing that, they are unable to do any task. Their physical development is not happening because they are not conscious of eating. They're not conscious of sleeping. They're not conscious of having any exercise. And so the physical health is also taking a toll. And that's why it is having a great impact on the physical, mental, and as well as the social health of the children, where they are now not ready to mingle with the real world, with real friends, with real people. They just want to be left with their gadget and its, addiction. That's all.
So then, Ms. Nupur, in a way, it is becoming just like any other substance addiction that we have as a problem in the country. And do you believe excessive violence in these online games that many are getting addicted to is actually making children getting attracted to violence, and that's fueling criminality? Earlier it was Blue Whale, now it is PUBG, even though it's banned.
Right. So a very important question to address. And so what happens is when children are addicted to games, and especially if the games are full of violence, like shooting and killing and those sort of things, and when they are continuously exposed to it, it normalizes violence. It desensitizes children to violence. So at one point of time, if they're not exposed to it, it's shocking, it's disturbing. But when that is something you're exposed to time and again and constantly, and that is something you're most of your waking time you're involved in, it becomes very normal. It doesn't become shocking anymore. It doesn't become something you shouldn't do anymore. And as teenagers get desensitized and it becomes normal, that is something that comes into their behavior as well. Cues from games where if somebody's attacking you, somebody's hurting you, or somebody's doing something that is not to your benefit, or coming in the way of things that you want to do, violence is the answer in these violent games. And because that is normalized, it gets transferred to real life as well. And one of the reasons why I think being a trauma-informed, trauma-focused therapist, I feel that one of the reasons why this is so attractive or children get so into this, into gaming, is because it provides dissociation, it provides a distraction from reality, which may be even more painful, a reality in which they may not be able to stand up for themselves, a reality in which they may feel meek, they may feel insecure, they may feel like they do not have power. Violence in video games gives some sort of control, gives some sort of agency, gives some sort of power. And that also brings about some sort of pleasure to the brain, to the pleasure in the sense, I don't mean joy pleasure, I mean the pleasure mechanisms of the brain, where you're away from reality, which is not good for you, which you don't feel good about. You're in an alternate reality where you have more control, you're less insecure, you have more power. You get, it provides dissociation, and you get away from these things. And then that is something that sort of gets internalized and gets played out in real life. And when we are talking about this, the mother saying, no, don't play, and the child, well, teenager is still a child, so we got to understand that this is a child, and we are not talking about an adult, and we need to be very, very aware of the fact that we are talking about a child here. And so when a child is addicted to something, so there is threat in real life. To expect to escape the threat, one is going into the gaming situation. And when there is threat of coming back to real life. So when I'm saying don't play PUBG, when I'm saying don't be in your alternate reality, I'm telling you to come to the real, to the reality, to the actual reality. And
yes,
that
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It in a way provides a distraction from reality. And that's the point we need to address. How to ensure that people who are feeling lonely, who feel that maybe online gaming is the best way to deal with the situations that they are into, maybe we need to focus on that aspect. And I want to now talk about solutions. Before that, let's also take the opening comments from NS Napinai. Ms. Napinai, are there laws to regulate online games? Can there be checks and balances as to what a child is being exposed to when it comes to online gaming? Because this industry is just exploding. I gave you some data. It's expected to get even bigger by 2025. And here we are talking about 41% of India's population, 55 crore people, that is below 20 years of age, an entire generation.
Absolutely right. And the case that you're talking about is what we would categorize as shocking one's conscience. Having said that, I want us to be mindful of the fact that this is a case which is still pending trial. So whatever comments I'm giving are more as a generic one and not specific to this case. I was very intrigued to listen to all the speakers before me because very valuable points came up. And Nupur's was the perfect segue for what I wanted to share. Suler, a writer, talks about disinhibition on digital spaces. And he talks about this kind of, the violence online as toxic disinhibition. In my first book, I referred to it instead of disinhibition as disassociation. And the reason for that is that when people are engaging on digital spaces, they do understand that there is a delineation between reality and virtual. And therefore, if you see all the imagery which you were sharing whilst everybody was speaking, there was so much violence there against people, against persons. You have shootings, you have bombing, everything happening, right? And yet you expect a child who may not have the maturity to understand the delineation between what is happening in a virtual world to know that the real world is different. So this disassociation in terms of what happens on screen, when it converts into the real world, where a child lacks mental maturity to know the difference, where they lack the maturity to understand what is legal, what is illegal, what is moral, and what is immoral, then all lines are crossed. And here, what is the role that law can play? You're already seeing that a ban did not work. So this has been my stand always. Merely saying ban it off with their head is not going to help. Law and regulations have to take a very nuanced way of looking at it. One possibility could be age gating. I wrote about it when the first bit of issues arose, even with respect to the digital code, etc., and with respect to regulating OTT platforms and online gaming. Look at the situation today. You talk very eloquently about the kind of exponential growth that this is going to have, but we are looking at this kind of a psychological problem in a 2D situation. But with the metaverse and with virtual reality, it is immersive technology. So you're going to have people actually playing these kind. One of the largest draws for the metaverse is online gaming and the experience, the real life experience that it gives.
Yes.
So imagine the kind of impact something like that will have when you're dealing with this level of violence. So in law, what you already have is limitations and restrictions in terms of sexual content, violent content, content harming children, etc. So the issue is really about how well can you implement existing law and how can we bring in laws which are specific to these domains, wherein there will be sufficient penalties. And the penalties can't really rest only with the user, or, there is no point blaming parents, etc. You have to put certain responsibility on the gaming developers, on platforms which are hosting them, and on technology which can be applied for age gating or restricting access, etc. So that would be the first step in terms of using technology along with regulations to find solutions. Ultimately, any tech-savvy youth, and most of them are tech-savvy, will find circumventions. But nevertheless, they are still circumventions, and at some level, they all know that they are violating the law. They know they are transgressing somewhere, So at that level, they still exercise some caution in their conduct. But when you give it as a free-for-all and open to all...
So a multi-pronged approach is what is required to deal with the current problem, and it is a crisis that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, we need
nuancing. Absolutely. Let me also, hear. Yes, let me also hear what the people have to say. Some viewers have also called us. Then I'll come back to my guest. We have with us Srinivasan joining us from Belgaum in Karnataka. Appreciate you joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. What is it that you will like to say?
Yeah, good evening. I am from the Indian Red Cross, and we have been dealing with many cases like this. And the crux of the problem is, the solution is that parents have to now start spending more time with their children from small age, and having a simple thing like team games like Ludo or as simple as Carrom board. Then what happens? And even when the children are studying, they should sit with them and start studying. Of course, technology is important, but then giving a 50,000 or 40,000 mobile to a small child of 5-6 years, it doesn't make sense. If they have to study, parents have to sit with them and spend time with them and tell them what is right and what is wrong, because children, their minds are very fragile, and that is what I suggest, so that over a period of time they become more, they know what is good and what is bad. Thank you.
Interesting. Srinivasan, appreciate you joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. We also have with us Milind Ajgaulkar, who is joining us from Mumbai. Good evening. Thank you for calling us here on Urban Debate. What is it that you would like to say?
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. See, addiction is a three-pronged disease.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Addiction is a three-pronged disease, actually. Addiction is a three-pronged disease, actually. Physical, psychological, as well as spiritual.
Okay. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Psychologically, it can be treated by giving some medicine or something. But ultimately, the child will become addicted to that psychological medicine only. Psychological medicine only. He will become addict.
I think we're having some problem with the connection out there, but I got your point. Appreciate you joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. These are some important points that have been made. Let's now focus on solutions, as I mentioned earlier. Indrajit Lankesh, as one of our viewers also mentioned, parents have to start spending more time. As a parent, what is it that you are doing? What is it that you think should be done to protect? Because these are our own children that we are talking about.
Yeah, I was listening to Miss Geetika and Nupur and Miss Napina, the lawyer, and they themselves, as they are qualified in their profession, they have given an amazing outputs and pointers like what we should do and what's happening. In fact, Geetika also said that we are living in such a complicated world as parents to spend time with the kids, and it's a very challenging time. But I still appreciate the panelists who come here and the discussion and debate you're having, Hina, because when I came out in the open about the drug issue in Karnataka, and the media took it up, and the media brought in an awareness, and I for myself saw kids having LSD, cocaine, and whatnot. So I was shocked. I was surprised, and I went in the open, went to the media, and media supported me, came out, and there was a strong message across Karnataka. And today, thousands of crores of drugs have been confiscated every day. And it's in the media, it's in the papers, and the strong message has gone across. And of course, rapidly it's come down. But Bangalore being the biggest hub for drugs today, that is another addiction, and that is the biggest problem, as well as the subject what you have taken now, the video games, and 16-year-old boy killing a mother. I suggest the solution should be first awareness through media and through debates like this, and I appreciate Hina for this, and some stringent laws as well. When we created an awareness in the media about drugs, the kids after 84, 85, after Rajiv Gandhi brought in some rules, after that there was no rules at all for ganja or for these drugs. People didn't know that it was a crime. Some kids from school and colleges, they thought it was some glamour, going to parties, having some fun, and like tablets like LSD, like you go 24 hours unconscious. And later, when they got caught and the message went across, today they know that it's a crime, they'll end up in jail. So the same kind of stringent laws has to be brought in.
Awareness, that's one thing that you have mentioned is very, very important, and it is the right time to, begin talking about it. 1 second, okay.
PUBG themselves.
Very quickly, yes.
In fact, they've come out, and it's all continuously under scrutiny that it's a violent game, it's excessive violence, can trigger aggressive thoughts. After all this, why do you still allow a 16-year-old boy to play PUBG? Some awareness has to be brought in. Some stringent laws has to be brought in. And censorship has to be brought in for these games as well. Just why do you bring in censorship for movies?
Well, absolutely. And that's where the role of parents, the role of gaming developers becomes very, very important. Interesting point you've made. Let me also go across to another viewer joining us. Then I'll go across to Geetika Ganjudhar for her comments. Harish is joining us from Chennai this evening. Good evening. Thank you for calling us here on Urban Debate. Okay, we've lost that connection. We'll try and get him back. But Geetika, now talking about solutions. As a parent, what is it that you are doing to protect your child? What is it that you can share with us, share with the parents who are watching you right now, with the children who are watching you right now, to protect the kids? Because it is a vulnerable time that we are talking about, and it is expected to get worse, as Ms. Napina also explained to us.
Hina, so you know what my approach is, and I'm going to tell you what I as a mother am doing. And I think that personal experience of mine may help a few viewers watching. I'm placing compassion at the center of the solution. Compassion for my child, compassion for myself, my husband, who's the father, compassion for the teachers at school, the lawmakers, the ecosystem. Firstly, that. Secondly, what my mother and father had to go through to bring me up is very different from what I and my husband are tackling to bring my daughter up. So we have to address it in context of today's times. and the different world that the child is growing up in. We just can't go with archaic approach or old school approach. It has to be a new customized approach to address these problems with our children. Now, what I have been trying to implement over the last few months is that, see, all of us have careers. We're all looking at achieving certain dreams of our own. But it's a very important realization that if you are a parent, it's probably the biggest duty that you will perform in your life. And I'm very ready, and I've always done this since she was born, that I have placed my career second to her and my own personal dreams of achievement second to her. And that, I think, now has to go even a step ahead, because whether it's the father or the mother, somewhere you have to stem a bit of the effort that you're putting into your careers and your dreams and give more to the child. Secondly, we have to develop new ways to engage these children, whether it is with us or whether it is how they spend their time. The solution just can't be a television screen, a phone screen, a cinema theater. We may have to look at all the other options that are available, and to implement those options, our physical presence will be required in a larger amount of time. Then thirdly, I feel educational institutions where these children go till the age of 18 will also now have to develop a huge amount of information being shared with these children from a very young age about the perils of gaming. And then fourthly, I feel that this issue, before we head towards being the second America, in terms of violence meted out by children towards children, let's just get some stringent laws in place ASAP, pronto, and remove access to these games as much as we can, or make them age-gated. And this is not something that's going to go away. We are probably sitting at the start of this epidemic, and a lot of big corporations, a lot of big money is involved. So we'll have to be patient, and we'll have to keep compassion at the center of it, and we'll have to do this one day at a time, but it'll have to be a very sustained effort by all the stakeholders.
Absolutely. And it has to be a multi-pronged approach, because it is impacting each one of us. It is a reality, and we need to find a solution. Dr. Chinu Agrawal, what is the advice you would like to give to, say, working parents who cannot be with their children from morning till evening, who have to go to their offices, but then they also have a responsibility towards their children? So what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, so, in this approach, the parenting aspect is the most important. Let me also mention the other aspects of the solution. One is the child himself or herself. The other is the ecosystem, that is the government and the legal things and all that. And one is the parenting-child bond. We are not talking about the parent or blaming the parent. We are not talking about the child and blaming the child. What we are trying to strengthen over here is the parent and child relationship. So, as research is saying, and as you mentioned when you were mentioning the data, that it is associated with critical parenting, or technically we call it as autocratic parenting, or in simpler terms, we can call it as no parenting, where parents feel we have done our duty by simply saying no. No, you should not do this. No, you should not play this game. No, you should study. No, you should do this. No, you should do that. That is not enough. Similarly, an opposite kind of parenting, that is yes parenting, where parents do not want to discipline the children at all, and they want to give all the freedom to the children without monitoring them. And they say that, if everything is allowed to everyone, it is allowed to you as well. And that's why they end up giving high-end mobiles, they end up giving 24 hours Wi-Fi internet access to the children, and they do not monitor, and that is yes parenting. Third parenting, that is uninvolved parenting, where they just don't care, they're just not available, and they are busy in their own lives to the extent that they do not know what is going on in the lives of the children. Now, what is the ideal parenting may be actually the solution for this gaming addiction, that is involved parenting, where you need not be present with the child all the time, but you know what is happening in the child's life, what is happening in the child's universe.
Yes.
And so, besides educating the children, we need to conduct mass parent education programs. How many parents in India are aware of what is Instagram, what is WeChat, what is PUBG, what is Fortune, and what is this? All these games. They are not even aware. They are not even aware what is going on in the mobile or the gadget of the child. So they need to learn how to identify the red flags. They need to understand that these are the withdrawal symptoms where he's reacting.
Yes, because it begins at home, and parents clearly need to understand what the child is going through, what the child is feeling, and so that he does not need a distraction from reality. Those are some interesting points you all have raised, but I'm completely out of time. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. It was wonderful to have you all on the show. Some interesting points have been made as well. We hope that, it will help the viewers who are watching you as well tonight. With this, we will slip into a very, very short break. On the other side of the short break, an exclusive interaction with former Chief Statistician of India lined up. Stay with us.